We're live. It's another Monday night, so that means it's time for MCU Mondays. I'm your host, Chris, and look, my backdrop actually has Marvel stuff on it instead of Master Yoda.
You're wearing a Marvel hat too.
Yeah, Stark Industries. Oh, I'm all over it today.
Oh.
All over it today.
I didn't get the memo.
Dave, odd duck out.
Yeah. Well, I forgot to the week before, so I was like, let's make a genuine, concerted effort. And look at that. There you go. Although this thing is kind of wrinkled, but I think it looks okay. It's a backdrop, whatever. Anyway, we're here to talk about the first episode of She-Hulk, which just came out last Thursday, because I think these ones are coming out every Thursday, which is basically the same thing because they came out midnight or later for most of the other ones. So, well, that was still Wednesday morning, I guess those came out. So these ones are Thursday, which doesn't make too much of a difference to us here on Monday. But yeah, She-Hulk just came out. I'm excited to talk about it. I'm joined, as I always am, by my co-host, Debbie. Debbie, how are you today?
Well, my color's off on my camera, but other than that, I'm all right.
Well, I could fix that if I was there, but I'm not. So,
well, see,
it's
you're not much of a host. You can't help
now.
me out.
The host doesn't do things like that. Where's the producer? Oh,
I
wait,
was gonna
that's
say
also me. Where's the editor? Oh, wait, that's also me. Where's the... Oh, wait, that's also me. So you're right, Debbie. I'm really not doing enough. Your constant support is what keeps me going. We're joined also by David down below. David, how are you today?
I you know what? We got a ton of rain. I am great. It's nice and cool down here. It's awesome. Hi, Eddie.
We also got Eddie in the chat and Paul McFarlane. 2 pints, prick. He might be talking to me. That might be a... I haven't done a still game reaction in like a month, and I've got 2 series left to go, which is like only 12 episodes. And a month is probably the longest I've gone without putting one out. And people are just like, why aren't you doing it? And I'm like, I've been busy. And the carpet and
backdrops.
I had to take everything apart and put it back together. That was a hassle. On the bright side, my grandfather had his last cancer treatment. I took him to his last couple radiation therapy treatments, and now he's done totally cancer free. So that's all good. You know, that's good. This is good stuff. It's just means I can't necessarily put out as many videos. But you know what? Beating cancer beats putting out a random video. So
I concur.
Yep. Debbie, Eddie says you look the best one out of all of us. So.
Wow.
I think my computer went off, and when I turned it back on, I don't think my camera saved anything. I don't know. I'm not a techie person. I tried to fix it before the show, and I just kept making it look worse. So it usually takes me like an hour to get it to look decent instead of brown.
Oh yeah, you probably need to just change the white balance.
No clue.
Well, that's what I would do.
Well, if I was smart, and I'm not, I would write the settings down. That way, if the computer goes off.
See, if I was smart, I would not only write the settings down, I would write out exactly how to get to those settings so that I could change them. Because
I can get to the settings.
That would get me completely lost.
Do you see what's happening? On my,
yeah.
That's the white balance.
Oh.
And it's probably what it is not set to auto. That's auto and then good to go. So anyway, Debbie, take care of your business. My goodness, come on. Trying to run a show here. God.
I'm sorry.
Speaking of which, let's have the theme song so we can get into talking about She-Hulk.
She just cue the music.
All right. So yes, She-Hulk. First episode is out. There's, as usual, some people love it, some people hate it, some people are indifferent. I call it the good, the bad, and the meh.
Dave Gramillion posted a graphic like the day it was released of all the reviews on IMDb, and it was like half the like 49% of the reviews were 10 stars, 42% of the reviews were 1 star, and then there was just this small spackling all the way up. I mean, it was like either really good or really bad.
Well, I think that's also something just to keep in mind with this day and age that we live in, of just the way reviews are done. And when you see something like that, where I say just throw out the 10s, throw out the 1s, and see what's left. And that's usually a better, because review bombing happens both ways.
Yep.
Like, people will bomb it with a 1-star review, but then other people will bomb it with a 10-star review, and neither of them are actually really critiquing the show. They're just like, I want this show to fail, so I'll bomb it, or I want this show to succeed, so I'll bomb it, by giving it a perfect rating. And so I usually just, throw out the highest, throw out the lowest, see what's left, and then you get some more people that are probably going to give you a better idea of and that's just of what they thought of the show, because everyone's going to have different opinions.
That's why I don't listen to critics. I don't pay attention.
And yeah, just watch it for yourself and make up your own mind. And a lot of those people aren't critics; they're review bombers. They're just
whatever. Yeah, I don't listen to any of that.
That's why we do this show, so we can actually talk about it. We've watched it, and now let's talk about it. The first episode overall, She-Hulk, is basically her just telling us how she became a Hulk. And it does start out with her being normal. It sounds like she's narrating to the audience, and she's kind of making this speech where, once again, they dance around saying, with great power comes great responsibility. That's what they're saying. That's what that whole 3 paragraphs amounted to. With great power comes great responsibility. But Sony owns Spider-Man, so you won't be seeing that in the MCU. that line is the perfect line for that situation, but Sony has it. So
Sony.
But you then find out that she's actually just reading her court, or her closing argument for court. And as is a theme so far, I mean, with the first episode, men are evil and women are wonderful. So her friend, who's a woman, was being very supportive. The evil man was interrupting her and asking if maybe he should do the closing argument.
He even went so far as to say, listen to the legal intern versus an actual lawyer.
She's a paralegal.
Or paralegal. Yeah.
So yeah, that just is a running theme throughout this, and I might point it out other times, but it's basically this whole episode of it is kind of like, anything you can do, I can do better.
Oh, it was just worse. It was worse than that.
Well, we'll talk about that more as we actually get to it. But I thought, as for a argument, she was making a good argument for, with great power comes great responsibility. And now she was talking in terms of like the big corporations, but I think that's also a good point. You have a lot of power, and with that comes a lot of responsibility. And if you don't wield that power in a responsible way, you come off as pretty evil. What do you think about that? And what do you think about her being a lawyer? Because we didn't see much of that in this episode.
No,
well, she just became deputy DA. She just got into that office. I mean, outside of this one, we've got 8 more episodes.
Yeah. Basically, it was there to say, hey, guess what? She's a lawyer. Here it is. She's a lawyer. Hence the title of the show. I mean, they couldn't have done that just with the title.
Well, the normal way you'd be thinking about this is like an origin story. So you'd be assuming we'd be seeing her like learning how to use her powers and whatnot throughout the beginning of the show. But in this, we just see, no, she's like already perfect with them. Don't worry about that. She's not, if you're thinking of the Hulk as this thing that loses control, she is not that. And I think that they did that specifically to set apart. This is, if you're, not that we've even seen that Hulk since Infinity War.
Infinity War, yeah.
And even then, he just got whooped. And then that was the last time we saw
Angry Hulk.
Strong, angry Hulk, yeah. But that's the difference, is that he is like a different personality. She doesn't have that separate personality. It's just her. And so like you're dealing, like, she's a Hulk in that she gets big and green and super strong, but she does not lose control. Or at least it doesn't appear so.
Well, like at the first, when she first changed, she kind of did, but it was kind of a gradual. Eventually, she took over, and she was like, "Okay, I can still exist within the Hulk body."
Yeah, she definitely had passed out for that first one, but whatever. It seems like she very quickly gained control over it. And so I guess even before that, what did you guys think of her and the crash and how she became the Hulk?
I thought it was done very fast. I mean, it seemed like it was like boom, 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 and then all of a sudden, oh, don't get my blood on you. Oops, there you are. You're the Hulk. And it's like, yeah, that was kind of quick. Okay.
Well, the thing is, we've only got 9 episodes. I don't know why people are bitching about this, and it's pissing me off. You've got 9 episodes, and they're only half-hour episodes.
Yep.
In the comics, she gets in an accident. She has to have a transfusion, blah, blah, blah. So do you want them to spend 2 or 3 episodes going through that?
While she's in
No.
the hospital or whatever? Yeah.
This was fine. It was fine.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay. Whoa.
No, I've just seen a lot of shit on social media, and it's pissing me off. So just like Thursday, I might just be a bitch today. I don't know.
As is your right. Because
we are evil
all
men.
Women know how to hold their emotions in check. And what kind of bastard would I be if Go off, Debbie, please.
No,
show me how you keep your emotions in check
me.
by losing it. It's hilarious. The show is hilarious, but not for the reason like they intended. Like, I saw it, I felt like I was watching. It's like the kind of comedy you get when you're watching like The View, where it's more like, or like maybe like one of those female comedians that's like, you know what I mean, sisters? And then like the audience is like, yeah, but it's like you didn't actually tell a joke. It's like there's a lot of cheering and patting on the back and like woo, but like you didn't actually tell a joke. The audience is making a lot of noise because yay, sisterhood, but that just kind of, I'm sorry if I'm not like woo, that doesn't do it for me necessarily. And you go through the episode, she goes into the bar, she goes to the ladies' room, a bunch of women find her. Oh my gosh, they're so wonderful to her, and look at the sisterhood, and women are amazing. And then she goes outside, and some men find her, and wow, what a bunch of pieces of crap they are. And they are. I'm not saying that those are, but every single man we see in this episode, other than the Hulk, is just kind of a douchebag. And she even paints him to be kind of a douchebag. So, and he's like trying to be protective, but again, he doesn't understand that she's not the same kind of Hulk that he is. Like that she doesn't, he was fully expecting her to have that whole second personality, and she doesn't. And so that's why, like Debbie said, there's a bunch more episodes. I think the reason they put all this into the first episode is to say, now that's out of the way.
We've established it now.
And we've established
she even
that.
Says that at the beginning of the episode. Yeah, I'm a Hulk.
That's,
you're not going to be able to concentrate on this until we get this over with. Let's go.
And so they get all that done because they want to be able to. The story here is not her learning to use her powers. The story here is how her everyday life is going to change. Like it's not over how to like master her abilities, but literally just you turn into a Hulk now. That's a thing you do or can do. Like when a supervillain smashes in, what do? Do you just not do anything? And that's like her whole thing. She's like, I want to help people by being a lawyer. And it's like, well, guess what? Remember that speech that you were jawing on about in the beginning? You have great power now. So guess what came with it? And she fully doesn't want to. So it's interesting how I think that kind of matches up too, where she is using this great, morally based speech to take down her opposition in the courtroom, but she doesn't necessarily see how it applies to her when she actually gets great power. Although then again, she has a point where she can do potentially a lot, like in the justice system, that you can't just do. But when it comes to fighting aliens, who's better equipped?
Well, the thing is, and probably the people who, well, I haven't read the comics, but I have done my research. Bruce is so confused that she does not have an alter ego. And the reason being is he actually has two personalities, similar to Moon Knight. He was in the comics, he was abused by his father, and I think they touch on it in one of the movies, Ed Norton or the other.
No, watched his father.
It was the Ang Lee
one.
Death. It was the Ang Lee one, yeah, with Eric Bana.
So he, like Moon Knight, he had a split personality. That's why the two, even though they're in one body, they fight over control over that body. She doesn't have that issue. And that's why she's able to, and I'm sure she's not going to be perfect at everything. She might have during that training montage, but when it comes down to where, she's going to have to make quick decisions on, do I Hulk out? Do I not? What do I need to do? It may not come out perfect. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier, where, they put her origin or whatever, her basically the thing that you would expect the show to be about, her getting used to using her powers. They're just like, no, she's got them. She knows how to use them. The conflict is going to be how she, tries to, how this actually affects her life, not in using the powers, but maybe figuring out, like you were saying, when to use them. Yeah.
Because during that whole time on the beach, she's telling Bruce, I don't want to be a superhero. But I think eventually, because we see, well, at least in the trailers, we've seen a lot where she's out in public, she's the Hulk, she's on a date, she's the Hulk. So I think eventually she she accepts it more.
Which will be interesting to see when that line comes that was in the trailer or whatever. It's like, the only people that want to be superheroes are narcissists and billionaires. And it's like, well, you're clearly being used for like photo ops and all different kinds of stuff. But then it's like, well, that's who I am. So why shouldn't I be who I am? Because she doesn't have to worry about losing control. So it would seem. That'll be interesting to see if she ever does have any problems with that, but it doesn't seem like that's a problem. That was a huge part of like the Hulk's story. And I think it's what draw a lot of people to the character of the Hulk is that whole, like, when he loses control, loses control. And then he wakes up to see whatever he did while he was the Hulk.
Yeah. Cause he doesn't remember it at all because the other personality took over.
And so I think a lot of people enjoy that aspect of the Hulk. And a lot of people, especially like comic Hulk fans, want to see like Ultimate Hulk, like the guy that could pick up a mountain literally and throw it. The guy that punches someone through time because he got so angry. He's that strong. And maybe those are like two extreme examples for what the MCU is. That's too much. But you started out with him in the Avengers punching one of those giant alien things in the face and stopping it cold. And people were like, yeah, let's see more of that. And then later he fights Thanos, and Thanos is just like jab, 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 knocked you out. And we're like,
2 seconds with Thanos.
Was that the Hulk? And he didn't even use the stones on it. It was just like, oh, well, that's the Hulk. And so, yeah, I think it's unfortunate. Like, I want to see that Hulk that's, you know, super freaking powerful.
It even went real far into Ragnarok too. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, when Surtur was there and he was smashing Asgard and he's like, and he's like, no, Hulk, don't smash, big monster.
Yeah, he just like goes to jump at that
because it's a big monster. He's supposed to.
And then so in this show,
he gets pushed around by a Jeep.
And
yeah.
It's unfortunate. I think it would have worked better if he had maybe like just held the Jeep until like the engine stalled out or she gave up trying to drive it and then confronted him as a Hulk. He could just say something like, you can't run away from this, or, you know, and then she just goes, well, fine, I'll Hulk my way out of it, and then they can start that fight, because they start fighting right after that. But just to see him like get picked up and thrown around by a Jeep, it's like, is this even the Hulk anymore? Smart Hulk? What are you?
I'm honestly not digging Smart Hulk,
because he picks up a rock and like chucks it into space.
Yeah, at
one point, and I was like, come on.
You're gonna chuck a rock into space, but you're gonna get run over by a Jeep?
Yeah, and it's like, you don't need to make him weak to show that she's strong.
Well,
it's just not necessary.
I thought they did that too. I mean, if you watch the training montage, when he picks up that rock, he picks it up one-handed and he goes, psh. I mean, it's just a little flick of the wrist and he throws it and it goes far. And then she picks it up with two hands and flings it and it goes further than his. But I was watching her, I was like, yeah, but you kind of ran through it and you put your body weight into it and you chucked it like a basketball.
But it's also her first day. So it's like, this is like her first, and she's just like, yeah, not only can I control the thing that took you 15 years to figure out how to do, I can do that day one. And you know, but yeah, at least, you know, they put, that's over, it would seem. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
she's got her powers.
My question is, so in the comics, Professor Hulk, and then I like how they kind of made a dig at Universal for that, because we have to call him Smart Hulk because Universal still has copyright or whatever, and they call him Professor Hulk, so we can't call him that. And he said, you know, I don't make up these names. I don't have control over that. Little dig at Universal there. And I forgot where I was going with that. Okay.
All right, let's take a look at the comments. We got people commenting. Brilliant news. Talking about my grandfather being cancer-free. Not cancer-free. Free. All right, thank you, Eddie, for that. It is brilliant news. Stephanie said, it was a bit annoying how she's just instantly amazing about being a Hulk. Her character would seem stronger if she overcame challenges instead of like being, I'm amazing already and the You Go Girl music is playing. And I think we covered that a little bit, just because, again, this show isn't going to be the typical setup like you would expect. Like, yeah, she's got her powers and she's good with them. I think the challenges are going to come from different areas, and like Debbie was saying, knowing when to use them or deciding when to get involved. And I think how it's going to affect her personal life. I think the writers for the show have been very candid about saying, like, this is very much about how like this interrupts your day-to-day life. So I think we're going to be getting a lot of kind of stuff like that. And it is a comedy. We saw it's just unfortunate that because it's a comedy that also she can break the fourth wall. She did that at least a couple times. At the very end of the episode, obviously she talked right to the camera. She was like, see, this is just going to be a lawyer show. And then of course, superhero fight.
I haven't found a superhero landing yet. We're still looking on that one.
Well, yeah, she
might
kind of did
frog.
the
Yeah.
Not a
And
superhero.
I
ending.
remembered my question where I got off track. My question was, in the comics, and I don't know if anybody knows this or not, Professor Hulk, Sony version or Universal version, does he ever go all out wacko? Or does he stay pretty much like this one is?
Okay, so again, I've got very limited knowledge on this. But what I do remember is from the DC versus Marvel crossover event. It was like a 4-issue crossover event. He was Professor Hulk at the time. I believe he's married to Betsy Ross. Typical Hulk stuff. Now, when he was slotted to fight Superman, and when he went to go fight Superman, it was like Superman hit him, and he goes, "Okay, I'm gonna have to show you my bad side." Yeah, exactly. Rip the shirt. So, I would say yes. Theoretically, yes. I mean, even Red Hulk, to some extent, has control, but he's still is crazy.
So only when it's like absolutely necessary does he.
Yeah, and I think that kind of spilled over into the MCU, especially with Endgame, when he said, maybe smash some cars on your way. He goes, I think it's gratuitous, but whatever.
And it's like, no, the people want to see Hulk smash. Why do you think everyone's going Hulk smash? Why do you think when you get those gauntlets and you punch something, it says Hulk smash? Because Hulk smash. Hulk smash. Oh, come on. But I was going to say that, she breaks the fourth wall. So there's some of that happening. It's comedy. I was going to say, it's just unfortunate that Deadpool came out before this. Unfortunate for She-Hulk, because now you just have to now I just compare it to Deadpool and I'm like, oh, Deadpool did this better.
He standing up wall better.
Standing up for the rights of discriminated against superheroes. Oh, Deadpool did that way better.
I wanted to be a superhero. Always wanted a real super suit.
What happened?
When was the last time you saw a plus-size superhero? Never. The industry discriminates.
The industry discriminates. And speaking of which, that was also... Okay, let's see. There is an article that came out that the actress playing She-Hulk... I'm not working. There we go. She said there's a weird focus in the MCU on... Why is that? Here we go. There it is. There's a weird obsession with female Marvel heroes' bodies, which we've talked about the double standard on the show before, but it's like, why do you think there's a weird obsession with the men's body? If you think it's a weird obsession, like, why are they shirtless in every movie? Like, and it makes sense. Like, it's not like you could just get a fat guy to go play Superman. You're supposed to have someone in peak physical, almost superhuman, and so they should look like that. I think it's just taking like body positivity way too weird and far.
I was gonna say, just scroll down just a little bit. Yeah,
scroll down, and so it's like the weird obsession with female Marvel heroes' bodies. That scene in Thor: Love and Thunder, they flick his clothes off so that he's naked, chained to the floor, naked in front of a crowd, and then the women swoon. And the women who are on his team say, should we save him? And then they're like, nah, let's watch and see what happens. And it's like, if this were reversed, you'd be losing your mind.
You'd have, what happened to the whole Me Too movement? Can we reverse it for the...
Yeah. Oh, we're so obsessed with the women's bodies.
Yeah.
And that one, clearly. But yeah, look, even Ant-Man up there.
But see,
scene.
I'll say this too. That's nothing new. you can go back as far back as comics have been around, and the men in them are all muscular and tough and
It makes
well
sense,
defined,
though.
and then the women too are all like, I mean, they're thin and trim, and they got big tracts of land, and it looks like they're in 0G too, because they hang up here.
Unless for some reason it makes sense for that character to look a different way. Like, for instance,
Like-
the X-Men character Blob.
That's what I was going to say. I was just
Would
thinking
you
about
get a
Blob,
skinny guy to play him? No,
No.
because that wouldn't make any sense. So why would you get, and they did make Thor fat, and he got so much crap, and it was like, that's how more people look than the first way. Oh man. But that's not how a superhero should be looking, and that's why that happened when he was totally not superheroing and being all depressed.
And I don't know if this has anything to do with it, just personal observation, but in the comics, the women were very exaggerated. I'll spit it out here in a minute. And so when they see him, and I don't know if the guys or people or whoever see him in live action, then they're disappointed because they don't look like that exaggerated version of the comics, where the guys in the comics are, they're all bulky and ripped and everything, and you can pretty much, maybe not to the exact exaggeration as it is in the comics, but I'm not complaining.
Well, I remember that was one of the things that oh gosh, I can't even remember her name now. Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot. Thank you. That was one of the things that when she first did Wonder Woman, like, fans were asking her, they're like, "Look, Wonder Woman's stacked. You're very obviously not as well endowed as Wonder Woman. How do you think about that?" And she said, "Well, really, if you think about it, Amazon's only had one boob anyway, so I guess I'm doing better than them at least." Like, Can I audition for the part of Fat Hulk? You can be Micro Hulk. I'll be Fat Hulk.
Body positive Hulk.
Oh yes. Thank you. Not fat. Fat is. Even though I'm calling myself that, so does it matter?
No, not if you call yourself that.
I'm offending myself.
I'm so offensive. I have offended even myself.
Yes, every single thing I say offends them.
Who are you calling them?
Avocado said, "I never realized the similarities between Moon Knight and Hulk." And yeah, multiple personality or dissociative identity disorder. Yeah, that'll get you. That is not a fun one to have. Unless you like waking up in random places with no idea what you've done. I don't even need drugs. This happens to me naturally.
It's not random places for Hulk. It's like random countries. I believe he went from Brazil to Mexico.
Oh yeah, he woke up and he was trying to speak or Portuguese to the guy.
Portuguese.
Spanish or something. Yeah. All right. Isn't Hulk based on pure raw emotion? Yeah. And I think so at this point, the Hulk that we have in the MCU is one that's and the way he's explaining it is that he has managed to combine the two parts of his personality. So it seems like the Hulk personality is gone. I'm wondering if he can actually even like fully Hulk out at this point. I don't know. We might find out more about that if we find out what happened with that alien spaceship. That's what caused the accident in the beginning of the episode and never got explained.
I was like,
so
okay,
that's probably...
Is that coming? I hope. I mean, Debbie, I'm taking a note from you. We've got 9 or 8 more episodes. Maybe they'll explain what that was doing there.
That ship
they
was
just kind of like
that ship was from Sakaar, so Grandmaster Ragnarok. So there's been a couple of theories thrown around. I don't know enough about it. I haven't really researched it yet because I wanted to see a couple episodes in to see where it might be leading. But one was, and I don't remember the comic name, but it was based on the Thor Ragnarok. But evidently Hulk hooked up with somebody there on the planet and had a son, and I don't know much about it, but somebody was saying
maybe somebody coming looking for child support.
Mm-hmm. And then the other one was saying this was going to lead to World Hulk. Is that right? Is that the name of it?
World War Hulk or Planet Hulk?
Or something. I don't know.
Planet Hulk was loosely what Ragnarok was based on.
Well, I think it was maybe it was World War Hulk, or I don't know. But with the appearance of this car ship, those were the 2 most popular theories I see.
Well, sure. Why not? Why not say somebody's there for child support payments? He's got a lawyer with him now. That makes sense. We got to have a lawyer show. Sure. It's intergalactic child support.
If you travel to the past, that past becomes your future, and your former present becomes the past, which can't now be changed by your new future.
So Back to the Future is a bunch of bullshit?
Smart Hulk.
Why don't we just find baby Thanos, and...
First of all, that's horrible.
It's Thanos.
That's horrible.
You've
done worse, Hulk. Yeah, first of all, I'm with him, but apparently time doesn't work that way. It's Back to the Future is a bunch of bullshit. But yeah, absolutely. And Hulk has done the gates of hell are screaming with the Hulk's foes.
We just watched that today. That was
the moaning of sprained deltoids and like the wounded, screaming of the wounded. Yes, at the gates of hell. Oh man. Yeah, and I enjoyed. I saw some people in the comments cheering for Fat Thor. Lebowski Thor was peak Thor.
Darn right. And you know why? Because now I can cosplay Thor. I can go to Comic-Con and cosplay Thor, and nobody's going to say nothing.
Everyman Thor.
Thor, he's back. That kid on the TV just called me a dickhead again.
Noob Master, hey, it's Thor again. The God of Thunder? Listen, buddy, if you don't log off this game immediately, I'm going to fly over to your house, come down to that basement you're hiding in, rip off your arms, and shove them up your butt!
I should do that. I should cosplay shirtless Fat Thor.
You could. I'm sure your kids would love it.
Thor, what do you know?
Is he asleep? No. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Yeah, just walk around with your hand down your pants.
I'm saying, yeah, on that one you get a flannel robe.
Full Al Bundy.
Comfortable. You're having a good time. Okay, so yeah, it's She-Hulk. Get back on track here. So she also calls Steve Rogers a virgin, or insisted that he was, and then at the end, that's the end credit scene, right? That Hulk explains that he lost his V card to a chick while on the USO tour in 1943, which fans now speculate that was Star-Lord's grandmother. Because James Gunn said she was one of the chicks who was at one of the
Yeah, she was one of the USO chicks.
Why does it matter?
It's funny.
Cares?
Look, hey, if that little kid could be Spider-Man and Iron Man 2, then whatever. All right.
Yeah, Peggy was there too, so why
Yeah.
couldn't it be Peggy?
We just watched that yesterday.
Iron Man 2?
No, WandaVision. But
Right.
and it was real funny because she says, and I forgot this happened. She says, "Your name is Ralph Boner," and he goes, "Boner." I was like,
all that, and everyone was thinking, "Oh my gosh, the X-Men are finally in the MCU," and they were like, "No, this is a boner joke.
This is
Because we're the MCU. We can do whatever we want, okay?"
This is a big middle finger to the fans.
Oh man.
Shut up and take my money.
God. Good stuff. But She-Hulk. Keep wandering away from that. What was I saying about her? Oh, well, I guess the place where they're training, is where Hulk went during the blip, and apparently hung out there with Tony Stark. Built that bar, which they destroy and then rebuild. So clearly, it didn't take them 5 years to build the bar.
Well, they built the lab too, the underground lab.
The lab probably took longer.
Yeah, well, you know, Tony was there complaining about Steve, so. How Steve was wrong.
Which were some nice throwback moments. Hey, remember Captain America? Remember Iron Man? I mean, they're not in this, but you remember them, right? Man, they were great. Speaking of obsession with female Marvel characters' bodies, what about America's ass?
Yeah, it's America's ass.
It's America's ass.
Yes, it is.
You know, just based on what's been put out here right now, I'm going to say that the obsession might be minorly there for the females, but a whole lot of it is there for the males. I mean, just this. The only thing that I can think of right now where the female body obsession was, what's her name's mom telling her, "No, you can't dress like that because she wears skin tight." And no, you're not going to see that.
Yeah. Someone in that comment section that we were looking at on Twitter, when they were saying the obsession with they posted the picture of all the shirtless Marvel guys, and they were like, the women's costumes are practically burqas compared to what they have the guys do.
It's true. Yeah, I'm all for equal opportunity.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely time to look at some of the memes that we've got. And the first one is the reason that I thought about this. David sent it to me. Hulk gets angry and his shirt rips off. She-Hulk gets angry and only her shoes break. That doesn't seem fair.
Well, she took her shoes off.
Yeah,
for Jack.
Because she's sensible, not like that Hulk who's going through all his clothes. She can even transform better than the Hulk. I don't want to ruin my shoes. I don't need an extra wardrobe. I mean, she busted out of her shirt a little bit, but yeah, it's just for fun. And I was gonna say, at least foot fetishists they're losing it. Yeah, let's see more of this busting right out of the shoe videos.
The green feet, yeah.
Look at me, Bruce. I'm Natasha. Here comes the Soul Stone. Stop it, Jen. It's not funny.
I haven't seen that one. That's great.
I thought you guys would like that one. And because that was what someone else commented, I posted let's share that screen. So that whole thing where I was talking about how I said the Hulk less powerful in every appearance in the MCU, which just compares those two shots, and it's just for fun. But people, responded to it. Yeah, this is the Hulk throwing a mountain. A mountain! I think that's the Hulk that a lot of people want to see. But a lot of people made the defense too. First Hulk is an uninhibited rage monster. This one doesn't want to kill his cousin. And I'm like, okay, I can see that. But no matter what excuse you make for it, he still looks weaker than in the first picture. He's weaker now.
It looks like he's got a dad bod going on versus a
Hulk ripped.
Maybe it's because of the shirt and the shorts. I don't know.
I think in the comics, excuse me, in the comics, isn't she a lot stronger than him?
Oh, I have no idea.
I think
I'm gonna have to research
wrong. I'm just throwing that out there.
The person said, "Man, they have the Hulk at the same power level as Bruce at this point."
Or as Homer painted green.
This is actually a great ad for Jeep.
We can take out a Hulk.
And there's that scene where he just hits the bridge in Thor Ragnarok without turning into the Hulk. Good stuff. So let's see. Continuing with the memes. Chris Evans watching the post-credit scene in She-Hulk.
Well, Chris Evans actually posted a tweet where
he laughed.
He had the crying
emojis,
and then Mark Ruffalo responded, "I'm sorry, bro. I was under duress." Duress.
70 said, "I remember seeing the dudes in the strongman competitions. They are thicker and they aren't super lean and cut like the Marvel superheroes." Yeah, Hulk, when he transforms, definitely looks more like that. I guess the closest other one would be Thor, but definitely Iron Man, Steve Rogers, even like Hawkeye, they're a bit more slimmer. And I think they said they based her body on an Olympian and not a bodybuilder, because there were some criticisms that people had of the show that like they didn't like the CGI, and some people didn't like the way that she was shaped. I thought most of the CGI complaints were just on the quality of the CGI. I thought she looked fine, like the She-Hulk looks in the comics for the most part.
Yeah.
She's not like super thick, like he gets like muscles everywhere. But I think that's again part of her character, that she's not just like muscle. She's a brain. And that's a thing for Bruce too, but usually they're separated. Like the Hulk is the all muscle thing and he's the brain, and usually they're separated. Now it's kind of like sharing, which again, I think it's more interesting and fun when they're totally separate. I think that creates more of a dynamic, more conflict, but I think the Hulk's time is nearly over. Like Thor's time, it seems to be nearly over. Captain America's time is over. Iron Man's time is over. They're setting up the new heroes now. So if you like those old Hulks, you have to go check them out. She left her blazer on like an idiot. That's what we're saying.
And she left her blazer on and only the sleeve ripped. Only the sleeve. Hulk and everything from the neck to the waist goes.
And that goes to show again how like their differences, and again, just like I was saying, the body shape essentially. And even if you look at female bodybuilders, they're like much the definition and like the thickness. She does look more like just a all-round taller, like bigger, of course, but just like a well-rounded Olympian. Is that's what they said they were going for.
She looks like an athlete. Yes.
Yeah, I think they got that. Although overall the CGI was like, it's a TV show. It's it's not necessarily
there was a
film.
point. There was a point or two where Luke turned to me and he said, "It's like we're watching a cartoon. It's almost like a cartoon." And I was like, "It's TV. It's not.
I don't see how she looks any different than Mark.
It's a gazillion. It's a $gazillion budget versus next to nothing budget."
I thought there were parts where they both kind of looked, like the CGI in general, not just her, but like him too.
Yeah,
but it's more noticeable on her just because this is the first time you're ever seeing her. I think you're kind of used to the way the Hulk looks. So, but I thought there were moments where for either of them, I was like, hey, I don't know. But like David said, it's not, they do have a big budget, and they should know that with this type of character, you're basically two all CGI characters.
With great characters come great responsibility.
And we know already that their graphics department, stories come out all the time about how they're overworked and understaffed in that department. So probably saving up for like the movies. Like we would spend all our time on Doctor Strange. So much CGI in that.
There was a few times in that looked a little janky.
Yep. So, and we'll see, I guess, how the story's going to play out.
I don't think Bruce will be in this series much more.
I think we saw most of what we're going to see of him.
Yeah, because it seemed like every time he was in the everything that we saw of him within the previews happened in this episode.
In that first episode, yeah.
So maybe a glimpse or a phone call or something a little later down the line. Maybe even at the end, like, hey, I'm glad you figured it out. And welcome to the larger world. We figured out how he's maintaining the Bruce.
Yeah,
he's got some kind of device or something that, like, wait, where's your lousy writing? We need the lousy writing.
I made a Fitbit that what's that thing?
Right next to a huge steaming ball of foreshadowing.
Power dampening collar. Shuts down all mutant abilities. Can't get it off unless you've got a grenade.
Huh. Could have used one of those in the first act.
They keep a monster in the basement. Right next to a huge steaming ball of foreshadowing.
This guy, Cable, he's very short, 5'11", not like in the comics. And if we succeed, we all go home early.
So you use a device to slide through time. I got two charges, one to get me here, one to get me home.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
But yeah, that first part too, it's like, it's a power dampening collar. Wow, really could have used that. Really could have used that in the first act. Well, in this, it's like, really could have used that in every episode afterwards. Why don't you just make me one of those? And he's like, I can't.
I'll be right back. I got to go take care of us yelling baby.
Yelling baby. But yeah, that's they literally already had that solution because they showed it. He's like, hey, look, I even made this thing that keeps me from going Hulk. And all I have to do is wear it, and I'll be totally fine.
Well, he did say it was a prototype, so
yeah, prototype.
He was just trying it out.
But it seemed to work. But she also, at the same, it's like, if she just had one of those for the rest of the series, she wouldn't need to worry about hulking out. She already doesn't apparently need to worry about hulking out. Now she did get surprised when he like woke her up with the air horn, and she kind of auto changed. So we might see her accidentally changing at some point. Although the thing that it's going to be there is she's going to go into Hulk mode, but she doesn't instantly then freak out like the Hulk would. She's in control. So like she just turns big and green. And so it's like the situation has changed slightly, but it's not necessarily like a bull in a china shop or a Hulk in downtown Mumbai or wherever that was.
And also, and I don't know if
Age of Ultron.
If anybody, yeah, and they had one of those masks there too. There versus Mexican
one of the
resort.
Yeah, one of the Ultron heads, or it couldn't have been that because I thought they had to destroy all that stuff, but it was something.
And they also had what Hulk wore during Ragnarok during the Champion Games. The helmet type thingy when him and
was
Thor
that
was
in
fighting.
the house?
Yeah,
I didn't see it when I watched it, but
what I wanted to point out, and I don't know if anybody else has noticed or caught on to it, where she's working right now is not where she ends up.
Oh yeah, because also no one knows she's a Hulk yet. And now that they do, she's gonna get like transferred, and we want you to be the face of our
company,
the green face, the superhero face, to show that we're on their side.
Yeah.
Well, when she's in court, the people that she's going against, that's the company or law firm that she's gonna end up with. The GLK Holloway or something like that. I forget what. There was like
the people she was arguing against.
Yes.
Oh.
That's the law firm that the superhero law firm that she'll end up working with.
Well, speaking of that, and speaking of the fact that we were talking about how we're probably not going to see Bruce too much more, there are going to be other cameos from other characters. We know this. One of them. Number of people waiting for She-Hulk. 6. Number of people waiting for Daredevil.
Thousands. Is that everybody? You wanted more?
Is that everybody? You wanted more? Yeah, Daredevil, and then even in the meme, he's got his yellow suit there.
Oh, and Wong is supposed to be in
Wong, of course, you got Abomination.
Yep, Tim Roth.
I heard one little rumor, Jessica Jones.
What?
That would be something.
I'd buy that for $1.
I'd buy that for $1.
Shut up and take my money.
My question is, and I don't know, maybe she travels or something once she becomes part of the other lawyers firm. But I mean, right now she's in LA. So
yeah,
I
she's
was
got to
like,
get to New York.
yeah, I'm like, so does he come to New York for some reason, or does she end up in New York and runs into him? And that would be the only way she would run into Jessica too, because
oh yeah,
they all run into that
Hell's Kitchen. Yeah,
the devil of Hell's Kitchen. And people were like, "Whoa, wait! So it was his first suit red, so you couldn't see him bleed. Why is his suit yellow?"
So he can wet his pants. I mean, what?
This guy got the right idea. He wore the brown pants.
Juggernaut, if I knew I was meeting you, I would have worn my white pants.
But the explanation that I like better is that he was making his suit and he just had no idea. He's blind that he's in different colors.
He went in and he said, I need some red material. Yeah, sure, this is red.
Here you go. Been trying to get rid of this banana costume for ages. What is this guy? And it's like, I can't break my cover. Got to keep pretending to be a blind guy. Even though as he said himself, and I've said before, he can see more than anyone, but it doesn't seem like color. It's more like but he can probably hear it. He's like, I can hear by the fabric that's the wavelength is not. It's not reflecting a yellow.
It's not how yellow sounds, and how
yes.
how red sounds. Red sounds differently.
Exactly. And with a character like that, that's why we're all excited to see him pop up. I just think it'll be great. Like, is he just going to show up for an episode and then half the episode he'll be a lawyer and half the episode he'll be Daredevil? Or is it like he'll be a lawyer for one entire episode and then Daredevil in another episode, or some sort of mix? I don't know. I'm just excited to see it. I like the character. I like the fact that he's a lawyer too. It makes sense that these characters would be meeting. It's not just a cameo for cameo's sake, even though it's most certainly a cameo for cameo's sake. It's also not just, it makes sense.
Well, and also she might make a cameo in his show.
Well, maybe.
Who knows? Who knows exactly how they're going to retool Daredevil for its official MCU debut.
Maybe having her in that show, I don't know
what Stan Lee would have thought of it all. I mean, he only died a couple years ago, and for the last I heard, I mean, he always seemed to have fun with his cameos. He was the DJ in the strip club in Deadpool. Like, and going as far back as like Mallrats, where he's just cameoing in that just as himself. Or even The Simpsons, where he's like, "You can't be the Hulk. I'm the Hulk." Ah! I really thought I'd do it that time.
I'll say this: if I was Stan Lee, I would love it, mainly because I'm looking at the paycheck they're sending me every week saying, ha ha ha, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Keep cashing out on them cash cows, baby.
Until he's immortalized in so many of these movies. Don't make me come down there, you punk.
What, you kids never seen a spaceship before?
It's a very impressive legacy. And I think he would be happy that people are still enjoying the creations that he, even if it's, and he liked some of the different iterations and the different ways they were going about stuff. I can't say he'd love every single decision, but just the fact that enough people are all these people are enjoying things that originally came from you.
Yeah.
Or interpretations you made, because let's be honest, like the Hulk is definitely Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but it's just a really cool different way of telling it. Thor, it's Thor, like, you know, they didn't come up with the idea of Thor, you know, he just kind of, but the way that it all comes together to create a new mythology, because that's what a lot of those things are based off of, or mythologic like paragons. I think it's pretty cool.
Very cool.
And then none of the movies are strictly true to the comics either.
Would be it's an impossible thing to do.
And it would be boring if you knew.
Well, it would be boring, and there would be so much. I mean, let's look at these comics. They've gone back how many years? I mean, since what Superman kicked off in the 30s.
30s, yeah, 30s.
So there is so much story. If you were to say, okay, well, we're just going to do it exactly the same as the comic book, there's just so much. You can't start off this and say, okay, here's Iron Man, and all of a sudden we've got aliens, and okay, where'd the aliens come from? Well, everybody's got flying cars. Okay, how did that happen? And you've got this and you got that, and it's like there's so much that you would have to explain that you couldn't.
There's a lot of different
runs.
I assume Superman
characters.
Is like Batman. There's a lot of different iterations of them.
Yeah,
so
and different art styles. And it's a different medium. Like any comic book, you can't perfectly translate that to film, because the way that you lay out each comic book page, that's part of the art. Like what you decide to put where. Do I do a full page one block, or do I do small blocks here and a big block at the bottom, 2 full page spread? How do the eyes travel from one place to the next, and how do I show action happening? It's just a totally different way of conveying the art than a film is. And there are some films where they really try and like do that, especially with the transitions. They'll try and do like separate blocks and set it up like a comic book page. but it just doesn't work as well because you're trying to take in everything at once as opposed to being able to move from one to the next like you do when you're reading a book.
And the
it's
way
all happening at once.
The way you're discussing that too, it's one of those stupid little trivia facts that not everybody knows, but it's cool to know. If the death of Superman, if you read that from the first episode from the first comic to the last, that first comic starts off with I think it was like an eight block page, and they just as it got closer and closer to the death issue, they cut down the number of blocks on each page as it was growing more intense, and to where when it finally got to the actual death issue, every page in that comic was a one block page. There was nothing in that was like, oh, well, we got a separate thing going on over here and here. It was all focused on exactly what it needed to focus on. And it was great. It was beautiful.
Yep. And that's something that you can do in a comic book that you can't do that in a regular book because you don't have the pictures. You can't do that in a film. You can do a montage or something that's kind of setting up that same feeling. There's ways to make people feel the same thing, but you can't do it. You can't form it in exactly the same way because it's.
And Ang Lee tried with Hulk, the Eric Bana one.
Yep.
But I mean, he tried, and for the most part, it worked. It was okay.
And that's why, like, comparing that film to another film of near around that time, Spider-Man, the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, that one, the transitions, as opposed to trying to set up like comic book blocks, he starts cutting things over, flashing back and forth. These are regular film techniques, and they work better at transitioning from one scene to another in a film than setting up comic book blocks and being like, get it? It's a comic book. It's like, well, it's not though. It's a movie and you're using characters from a comic book, but better to know what format you're in and how best to achieve your goals within that format. And a lot of that stuff I learned not necessarily from film school, but from an English class I took in college. It was called semiotics. And semiotics is the study of signs and symbols. And we had to learn how to parse images. And so when I say parse, you know how you break down a sentence and you say what each part is, like that's the noun, that's the verb, that's the adjective. You break down a sentence. We had to learn to do that with individual pictures. And then we learned to do that with comics. And then you figure out how they specifically set up each panel to move to the next panel, where eyes are pointing to show what things are focused on, and just how to express things through the use of signs and symbols rather than words or moving pictures. And so there's so much that goes into that stuff. And if you really know how to make a good comic, it's its own fantastic medium. But you can't make it. You can't make it exactly like the comic. It's just not possible. All right, let's see.
We got one last question there at the bottom.
Eddie said, yeah, I agree. Just thought, okay, about Stanley. Thank you for that. You're welcome, Eddie. Thank you for the comments. I know we've barely had any scenes with her, but any thoughts on the villain so far?
Well, she's there.
She got punched out.
We got a villain.
It'll be interesting to know like what she was hoping to accomplish in that. Like, why did she bust in there? We don't know. I liked the actress that plays her. She was on The Good Place. But yeah, there's not really much to say yet.
I wonder if somehow, some way, somebody from that other law firm found out that she can Hulk, and that was just a test to see if maybe she does and how she reacts. And it was kind of like a pre-interview.
Or it was just someone that Damage Control was following, and since they're inept at everything ever, it led to a giant fight in a courtroom.
This is true.
That's my theory. Damage Control is just at it again. We control the damage, and yes, there will be a lot of it. So yeah, I think that's about it for today. We're over an hour, so we're going to call it. If you have any memes you want to send for next week's show, you can send them to me on Twitter at @it_Vase. and maybe we'll talk about those memes during the show. I enjoyed that. I thought we had fun doing that. Try and do that more often. But basically, yeah, we'll be back next week to talk about episode 2 of She-Hulk. And other than that, David, you got a show this Thursday?
Thursday night, 8:30 Central Standard Time, 9:30. It's the same time spot as this. We're talking Star Wars. There you go. It's me and Debbie and Cam, and we sit around and talk Star Wars. We're talking Rebels and Hondo and Naka this week.
Hondo! Oh, Hondo's cool.
Yeah.
I love Hondo.
It's funny.
So just getting ready for Andor. They pushed us back on Andor, so we gotta wait longer now.
Oh, did that get pushed back?
It was supposed to air yesterday, I think. The 21st?
Yeah, it's the...
Or the 27th. It was supposed to be the 27th, I thought.
Yeah, now it's towards the end of
20...
September now, so...
Yeah, maybe it's the 21st of September. They pushed it back because they didn't want it interrupting She-Hulk.
Well, then they should have scheduled their own shows better, I guess.
Right?
Well, okay, so She-Hulk's on Thursday. If you put Star Wars on Wednesday or Friday, they're not. It's not like they're.
Oh, I agree.
And let's face it, it's MCU and it's Star Wars. People are gonna watch both. Yeah. It's not like they're gonna say, "Oh, I'm not."
If only so that they can complain about it later. People need to see these things,
and it's
That's
not
why
like, oh my gosh, it's She-Hulk and Star Wars. Which am I gonna watch on this streaming service? Well, I'll just watch She-Hulk, and then I'll go back and watch Star Wars later. Whatever.
All right, so Thursday night, talk about Star Wars. Go hang out with David. We'll be back next Monday to talk more She-Hulk and anything else MCU that we decide to talk about. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you then.
Shit! Language. Wait a second. No one else is going to deal with the fact that Cap just said language? Just slipped out.
Find the scepter.
And for gosh sake, watch your language.
That's not going away anytime soon.
You bet your ass.
Steve, you said a bad language word.
Did you tell everyone about
The
that?
Hero's imprint. Out with the platinum bastard.
Steve doesn't like that kind of talk.
You know what, Romanov?
Fury, you son of